5 terrifying stories to keep you awake at night.
1. The mysterious epidemic. It began like any other day, with the city buzzing with life, and the sun casting its warm glow over the bustling streets. But as the hours passed, an invisible menace began to creep through the heart of our metropolis, spreading fear and confusion like wildfire. I was there when the first reports surfaced. Strange symptoms, sudden and severe, sending victims into a downward spiral of agony. Feverish and delirious, they crowded the city's hospitals, their desperate pleas for help echoing through the sterile hallways. The government's response was swift. But shrouded in secrecy, they cordoned off entire neighborhoods, imposing a strict quarantine that left residents trapped within their own homes. Men in hazmat suits roamed the streets, their grim expressions hidden behind face shields, their orders clear, but their explanations absent. My own building became a fortress, sealed off from the outside world. Armed guards patrolled the entrances, their weapons a chilling reminder of the gravity of the situation. Food deliveries became sporadic, the once bustling streets now eerily empty. Inside our confined quarters, anxiety and uncertainty gnawed at our collective psyche. We watched as the numbers of infected individuals skyrocketed, their wails of pain and despair carried on the wind that swept through the narrow alleys. As days turned into weeks, the symptoms of the infected grew increasingly horrific. Skin lesions, bloodshot eyes, and an agonizing, guttural cough that sent shivers down my spine. Those who had once been vibrant members of our community were reduced to hollow shells of their former selves, their voices silenced by the relentless onslaught of the disease. The government's response only fueled our paranoia. News broadcasts offered no solace, their reports vague and contradictory. Rumors of mass graves and secret experiments circulated through our small enclave, breeding a sense of hopelessness that threatened to engulf us all. I watched as the infected were forcibly removed from their homes, their cries echoing through the corridors of our building. Men in hazmat suits, their faces hidden, herded them into unmarked vans, their ultimate destination unknown. The street outside had transformed into a ghost town, the remnants of a once vibrant city left to decay in the shadow of the inexplicable epidemic. With each passing day, the quarantine felt more like a prison sentence, and the fear of the unknown weighed heavily on our souls. Had the government's response truly been for our safety, or were we pawns in a sinister game of control and manipulation? As I write these words, trapped within the confines of my own home, I can't help but wonder what lies beyond the sealed doors and barred windows. The mysterious epidemic that gripped our city remains a chilling enigma, its true nature concealed behind a shroud of government secrecy and fear. I share this account as a testament to the horrors that can unfold when a city descends into chaos, when a deadly disease becomes a catalyst for paranoia and despair. Our world has become a shadow of its former self, and the questions that haunt my mind may never find answers in this grim new reality. 2. The babysitter's nightmare. The evening began like any other babysitting gig. I arrived at the quaint suburban home nestled in a peaceful neighborhood, greeted by the smiling faces of the parents who were heading out for a rare date night. They introduced me to their 2 adorable children, a pair of cherubic siblings who seemed as excited about the evening as I was. As the parents drove away, leaving me with instructions and contact numbers, I settled into the routine of feeding, playing, and bedtime stories. The children were well behaved, and the evening passed without incident. Nightfall arrived, casting a blanket of darkness over the house, but I reassured the kids that there was nothing to fear. After tucking them into bed, I settled in the living room, preparing for a quiet night of watching TV and studying. The house was silent, save for the occasional creaks and groans that old homes tend to make. The hours passed peacefully, and I began to relax, feeling comfortable in my role as the babysitter. Then, as the clock ticked closer to midnight, the tranquility shattered. The phone rang, its shrill tone cutting through the silence like a blade. I answered it, expecting to hear the parents checking in, but instead, there was nothing but static on the other end. Distorted, unsettling static that sent shivers down my spine. I hung up, assuming it was a wrong number or a technical glitch. But as soon as I set the phone down, it rang again, the same unsettling static filling my ear. I felt a knot of unease twist in my stomach as I picked up the receiver once more, demanding to know who was on the line. This time, a voice so chilling it sent a wave of terror coursing through my veins, whispered from the other end. It was low, raspy, and filled with a malevolence that left me trembling. "I'm watching you," it hissed, the words dripping with menace. My heart raced as I slammed the phone down, my thoughts racing. Who could be playing such a cruel prank? I glanced out the windows, half expecting to see someone lurking in the darkness, but the street outside was empty, bathed in the cold glow of the moon. I tried to shake off the fear, convincing myself that it was just a prank call. But then, the phone rang again, the same distorted voice repeating its sinister message. "I'm watching you." My panic surged, and I realized that the call was coming from inside the house. With trembling hands, I grabbed the children from their beds, taking them to the safety of a neighbor's house, my mind racing with fear and confusion. I returned to the now menacing home, my footsteps echoing through the empty rooms. Every shadow seemed to conceal a threat, every creak of the floorboards a sinister whisper. I searched the house from top to bottom, but there was no sign of an intruder. The phone continued to ring, each time with the same chilling message. As I picked up the receiver once more, my heart pounding, I heard a new voice. The children's voices filled with terror, pleading for me to come back to them. A dreadful realization washed over me. The voice on the phone was mimicking the children. It was a macabre game, a tormentor who had invaded the sanctity of the home and sought to terrorize me. With a surge of desperation, I called the police, my voice trembling as I explained the situation. They arrived quickly, but by the time they did, the calls had stopped, and there was no evidence of an intruder. I never babysat for that family again, and I couldn't erase the memory of that night from my mind. The babysitter's nightmare had become my reality. An encounter with a sinister presence that lurked within the very walls of the house. I share this story as a warning to all who may find themselves in a similar situation. Trust your instincts, and never underestimate the darkness that can lurk within the familiar confines of your own home. 3. The Vanishing Pets. It was a quiet, idyllic neighborhood, the kind of place where families settled down and forged deep connections with their neighbors. The houses were adorned with perfectly manicured lawns and flower gardens that bloomed with vibrant colors. In this peaceful enclave, I had found my own slice of suburban paradise. My journey into the unsettling mystery that would shatter our tranquil existence began with my daily routine, walking my beloved dog, Max, through the sun-dappled streets. Max was a loyal companion, his wagging tail and boundless energy a source of joy for me and my neighbors alike. But as the weeks passed, I began to notice a growing unease in the neighborhood. Whispers and hushed conversations echoed through the tightly knit community. It started with rumors of pets gone missing. A cat here, a dog there. At first, we dismissed it as mere coincidence, the occasional wandering pet that had strayed too far from home. But as the reports multiplied, we could no longer deny the sinister pattern that was emerging. Pets of all shapes and sizes were vanishing without a trace. Concerned residents took to social media, sharing heartbreaking posts about their beloved companions, their words a testament to the growing fear that gripped our neighborhood. The unease settled over the community like a shroud, casting a pallor of suspicion over our once friendly interactions. We questioned our neighbors, exchanged knowing glances, and exchanged theories about the mysterious disappearances. It wasn't long before a sense of paranoia took hold. We began to hear stories, tales of shadowy figures seen lurking in the dark corners of the neighborhood, strange noises in the dead of night, and eerie whispers that sent shivers down our spines. I couldn't ignore the growing unease any longer, and I, along with a group of concerned residents, decided to investigate the sinister plot that seemed to have infiltrated our once peaceful community. We combed the neighborhood, searching for clues, canvassing the streets with flyers of the missing pets, and conducting late-night stakeouts. The nights were filled with tension, our senses on high alert as we watched and waited, hoping to catch a glimpse of the elusive culprits. But all we found were more questions and unsettling discoveries. A trail of paw prints leading to a nearby forest. Strange symbols etched into the bark of trees and an eerie sense that we were being watched. As our investigation deepened, so did our fear. We began to suspect that there was something more sinister at play. An underground network, a group of individuals with malevolent intentions. Our theory was met with skepticism from the authorities, who dismissed our concerns as baseless paranoia. But we knew the truth. Our pets were vanishing, and the sense of dread that had gripped our neighborhood could not be ignored. With each passing day, the sinister plot became increasingly inscrutable, a puzzle with missing pieces that left us feeling helpless and vulnerable. I share this account as a testament to the terror that can unfold when the safety and tranquility of a neighborhood are shattered by a sinister plot. The vanishing pets became a symbol of our collective fear, a reminder that darkness can lurk even in the most idyllic of communities. As I reflect on those unsettling days, I can't help but wonder what other secrets our neighborhood held, and what malevolent forces we may have unwittingly unleashed in our quest for answers. 4. The Silent Town. The day the silence fell upon our town was like any other. Bright and bustling with life, the sun hung high in the sky, and the streets were filled with the sounds of laughter, chatter, and the familiar hum of daily activity. But then, as the clocks struck noon, an eerie stillness descended upon us and the world went ominously silent. I was standing in the heart of the town square when it happened. One moment I was chatting with a friend, our words carrying easily in the crisp air, and the next it was as though someone had flipped a switch, cutting off all sound. The laughter and chatter ceased abruptly, replaced by an unsettling void of silence. At first, there was a collective confusion that swept through the crowd. People exchanged puzzled glances, their mouths moving in futile attempts to speak, but no sound emerged, no words, no laughter, no cries of astonishment. Panic rippled through the town like a shockwave. Shopkeepers stood frozen behind their counters, their voices unheard as they tried to address customers. Cars continued to move, their engines humming silently, and birds flew through the sky, their wings flapping without the usual accompanying cacophony. I reached for my phone, desperate to make a call, to confirm that the problem was not confined to our immediate surroundings. But as I tapped the screen, I realized with a sinking feeling that the phone itself had become a mute object. The screen displayed messages and notifications, but there was no ringing, no vibration, no sound of any kind. As the initial shock gave way to fear, I saw the same emotions mirrored in the faces of those around me. Panic erupted as the realization set in. Our town had been swallowed by an eerie, suffocating silence, and we were trapped within its unsettling embrace. The emergency services were quickly overwhelmed as residents rushed to the hospital, gesturing wildly, but no words emerged from their mouths. The doctors and nurses worked in grim silence, their expressions a mixture of frustration and helplessness. Days turned into weeks, and the silence showed no sign of abating. We communicated through handwritten notes, our words serving as a feeble substitute for the voices we had lost. The once vibrant town had become a ghostly enclave, its streets haunted by the eerie quiet that had descended upon us. As we struggled to adapt to this newfound reality, a sense of dread took hold. We began to suspect that the phenomenon was not a mere glitch but a sinister force, an invisible, malevolent presence that had stolen our voices and plunged us into this living nightmare. The silence seemed to amplify our fear, as if the town itself was holding its breath, waiting for some unknown terror to be unleashed. Shadows danced in the corners of our vision, and strange symbols appeared on the walls, etched in eerie silence. The world beyond our town remained oblivious to our plight. News outlets reported on this strange phenomenon, but there was no mention of a solution, no indication of when or if our voices would return. As I write this account, the silence still reigns, unbroken and unyielding. The town has become a silent prison, a place where words are meaningless and communication is reduced to gestures and expressions. The sinister force that has stolen our voices remains a mystery, its intentions unknown, and the once thriving community has been reduced to a haunting, eerie silence. I share this story as a testament to the terror that can unfold when the very essence of our existence, our voices, is stolen from us, leaving us trapped in a world of eerie stillness and chilling uncertainty. The silent town has become a living nightmare, a place where fear and despair are the only sounds that remain. 5. The Cult in the Woods. The air was thick with anticipation as my friends and I embarked on our weekend camping trip in the remote woods. We were eager to leave the stress of city life behind and immerse ourselves in the tranquility of nature. Little did we know that our idyllic escape would lead us to a nightmare beyond imagination. We set up camp by a serene lake, surrounded by towering trees that whispered secrets in the rustling leaves. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that danced across the forest floor. A crackling campfire provided a warm beacon in the encroaching darkness, and the laughter of my friends added to the ambience of the evening. As the night wore on, we settled around the fire, trading stories and sharing laughter. The thought of a night beneath the stars filled us with excitement, and we had no inkling of the horrors that awaited us. It was deep into the night when we first heard it. An eerie, guttural chant carried on the wind. The voices were strange, foreign, and they sent shivers down our spines. At first, we dismissed it as an echo of our own laughter, a trick of the imagination. But the chant grew louder, more distinct, and impossible to ignore. Curiosity and apprehension mingled in our hearts as we followed the sound deeper into the woods. The forest seemed to come alive with an unnatural energy, the trees leaning in as if to witness the unfolding terror. The chant led us to a clearing bathed in the eerie light of a full moon. There, before our disbelieving eyes, stood a group of cloaked figures, their faces obscured by masks of grotesque design. They swayed in rhythmic unison, their voices raised in a macabre hymn to some unspeakable deity. In the center of the clearing lay an altar, adorned with candles and symbols that defied comprehension. Our hearts pounded in our chests as we watched in paralyzed horror, unable to tear our eyes away from the ghastly spectacle before us. The chant grew more intense and a sense of malevolence hung heavy in the air. And then, as if in a nightmare, the cultists produced a figure, a living, breathing sacrifice. Our gasps of horror were stifled by the realization that we had stumbled upon a ritual of unspeakable cruelty. The cultists raised their hands high, their voices reaching a crescendo, and the figure on the altar began to convulse in agony. A pall of darkness descended upon the clearing, obscuring our view of the gruesome act. The air grew heavy with the stench of blood and fear, and we knew that we had witnessed something beyond our comprehension. Terror gripped our hearts, and we fled from the scene, our footsteps echoing in the stillness of the night. We dared not look back, but the memory of that horrifying ritual would haunt our dreams for years to come. We returned to our campsite, our faces pale and our voices hushed. The laughter and camaraderie of earlier had been replaced by a chilling silence. We knew that we had stumbled upon a cult in the woods, a group of individuals dedicated to an unspeakable evil. As I write this account, I can still hear the haunting chant echoing in my mind, a reminder that the darkness can lurk in the most remote of places, and that the woods may hold secrets too horrifying to fathom. The cult in the woods was a nightmare we could never forget, a nightmarish encounter with the macabre that would forever haunt our memories. Which story caught your attention the most? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Until next time, stay safe. And thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Check out my website in the description below to see what I'm writing. and just below there are some suggestions related to what we talked about today. Peace.